Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about a caregiver survival guide. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we will be thinking about today. And luckily, I have Rob here as my special guest to help us really think about this in a whole new way. So, thank you so much, Rob, for coming on to my show, sharing your
My
time
pleasure.
and your perspective with me. This is truly an honor for me. So I would like to just dive right in. When
That's great.
you hear the phrase caregiver survival guide, what does that make you think about?
Well, it's kind of flashbacks because I lived it. I'm a scientist and inventor and had a beautiful wife and kids. And all of a sudden, my wife starts limping while she was training for a marathon. And it led to diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. And within a year, she's gone from limping to in a wheelchair. So then we have 19 years she lived in a wheelchair while we had little kids. So I was right up front and personal about the whole thing. I became her arms and legs. And, I think because we had such a tight relationship and because I was a scientist and inventor, it helped me analyze and troubleshoot and figure out, problem solving, kept solving problems, whatever category they were in:
Yeah.
physical, mental, financial, parental. It just goes on and on. It's a massive undertaking.
Oh, absolutely. I could imagine just by being an inventor and a scientist, your mind is naturally wired to find a problem and solve the problem and then make my life easier along the way. So, I
Exactly.
mean, that's exactly how I see it. And I was a caregiver for almost like 10, 11 years.
Uh,
And so I know exactly what you mean. Like sometimes you have to figure out ways to make your job hard, easier, along with giving the other person that respect, that dignity, that knowing that they're still a part of this world despite their limitations. So knowing that
exactly.
you were able to do that for your wife in such a loving and way, I bet you try to have some fun with it. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, of course, and that was the other thing. We kept, believe it or not, the sexuality. We kept that alive too, and we
Good.
we had limitations. The irony of her situation, the blessing and the curse was she couldn't feel anything. Well, no, she could feel everything. So a
Oh, okay.
mosquito, even though she was paralyzed from the neck down, if a mosquito bit her ankle, she would feel it, and I'd have to itch her. But that was the bad thing. So 3 in the morning, I'd have to get up all the time, wake up and do things for her. But the
Yeah.
flip side was she was still sensitive and orgasmic, and
Yeah.
so that was fantastic. So we had, and anyone going through relationship issues, your intimacy is critical to maintain,
Yeah.
and we maintained it, and it helped us among other things. So it was a very challenging time, but again, that was part of the things I knew about relationships, was to keep the intimacy up and also keep up the humor. I mean, there were so many little
Yeah.
tricks, and you know, it's just I actually wrote a book. That's the Caregiver Survival Guide is the book that I wrote as, again, a scientist. I wrote a couple of books on inventing and health and a kid's book, but that one, the caregiving one, it just was so, I think, needed because most caregivers, no
Mhm.
offense, are women. And in fact,
Yeah.
the New York publisher, when they went to publish the book, they couldn't
Yeah.
find an appropriate picture with a man pushing a woman in a wheelchair. All the
Yeah.
pictures were the other way around. So they
Hmm.
ended up not using a picture on the front cover. So
Oh,
I mean, I take that as a compliment. But so
right.
so the roles were reversed, and the other thing is our kids were 7 and 4, and I wanted to make sure they were part of their mother's life and vice versa. So we would do things like, bedroom parties. There was always, and the wheelchair became more normalized, where it became a toy. My son used to pop wheelies on it, and the kids used to play in the wheelchair. Just so it was just something laying around. It was like a
Yeah.
skateboard. So you just
Yeah.
kind of you just kind of live with it, adapt to it. The hardest part, really, one of the hardest parts, was how other people treat
Yeah.
you and her. She really got tired of getting disrespected. People we'd go to a restaurant or someone, and they'd say, "Well, what does she want to eat?" And she'd say, "I can talk, I can think." They would, just because you're in a
Yeah.
wheelchair doesn't
Doesn't,
mean you haven't even
yeah.
lost in your mental capacity. And the nice thing was she never lost her mental capacity. She was with it till the end. So
Well, what
that
a
was nice
blessing.
too. Yeah. So I think about like Alzheimer people, and I think
Yeah.
that's much worse, for them not to
Oh,
know who you are. You know,
ooh,
she just lost her body, her body
yeah.
motion. And not all of
But
it.
I think that's a beautiful story, a love story at itself, because
Thank
at the
you.
end of the
Yeah.
day, you still stood by your wife. You took those vows seriously. You know what I mean? Through
Absolutely.
sickness and
Yes.
through health, I will stand by your side. And that is exactly what you did. You stood by your wife's
Uh,
side, even though she wasn't able to stand by yours. She had to sit down or
well,
lay down. You know what
yeah.
I mean? We had to
Well,
make adjustments, you know?
but yeah, but she still stood by me, for the most part.
Exactly. In the essence. Yeah,
Yeah, well, she's still
exactly.
supportive, and we're still a team. We still made team decisions. Even I tell my son now, who has a baby, so I'm a grandparent, how everything has to be group decisions in between the mother and father with the team. So she never was not engaged with all decisions,
Oh,
and now
yeah.
so it was good. I mean, and I used to tell her, for a few years, off and on, she would want to end it. She even looked into going to Switzerland, and I go, no, you got to be here.
Yeah.
You got to be here for
Yeah.
your kids, even if you're just a head talking in a jar. Your kids still have a mother, and I think that was
Exactly.
really great because she lived till the kids got to be 26 and 23. So that's great. And even now, I'm seeing all my kids getting more mature and having their own kids and getting married and all that, that they remember their mother distinctly and they had a full on relationship with her. And it was
Yeah.
different than other kids, of course, but
Obviously, yeah.
they were a lot more emotionally mature than most people's kids.
Well, they had to
J-
grow
j-
up a little differently, you know.
right,
So they're normal, their common
right,
sense wasn't like other kids' common sense at their time. So that's
right.
why it's like they always had to be a step up because they had to know, my mom, has a little limitations, but she's really smart. She
Right.
she she could be like Dr. Xavier, you know what I mean? Her
Yeah.
mind is where and
Well,
observant and knows exactly what's going on.
no, she was very smart. She had a master's degree, and she also was very perceptive. She was a natural counselor, so she knew how to deal with people, how to talk to people, and there were some positive things and there were some tough things too. Of course, there are millions of them, and one of the things is we had 183 caregivers go through our house in 19 years. That was estimate.
Okay.
So all these people in your face, because I needed a break. I still had to do my invention work and get
Yeah.
mental health breaks. So that was kind
Yeah.
of tough to have all these strangers in your face. And a lot of them weren't, we didn't have a lot of money. I mean, financially, that was the other big struggle. So we were hiring people off Craigslist and
Ugh.
you get what you pay for
Yeah,
sometimes. And
oh
that is
my
pretty sketchy.
goodness.
So it was a drag because I'm a pretty private person when I'm not
Yeah.
public. And
No.
that was tough. So, it's just, but it just, you go through it and it basically, whatever problem comes up, just like in inventing or science, you tackle it. So there were problems every day. You just kept going to them. And we would do things like,
Definitely.
for her, she didn't want to be like pitied, right? That was the main thing. So, but
Yeah.
we'd go to we got invited to parties or clubs or something. We would just get there early and we'd pick the best seat and I'd pick her up and put her in the seat and then I would stash the wheelchair. So
Oh.
no one, and you couldn't tell she was beautiful till the end. You couldn't tell she
Hmm.
was paralyzed. So, and then I remember one distinct thing was we went to a club. People asked us, I don't know why they even asked us, but we went and everyone's dancing right away. And she goes, why don't we just make out? Because that's what everyone's here for. So we started making out in a little booth at the club, so you just had to
Oh
be
my
creative,
goodness.
that was kind
Yeah.
of the way
I
that we
love
got through it.
that. I love
Oh,
that
thank
story because it just holds like your humor, your spirit of just being willingness and just knowing that at the end of the day it was more than she wasn't just a body. She wasn't just, you know what I mean, her legs or her, you know what I mean, her
right.
arms or anything. It was her spirit that still
Exactly.
kept you
Well,
going, you
yeah,
know what I
and
mean?
people that know her, she was tough. I mean, she was funny, tough, and you know,
And that's good.
everyone knew Cindy. She was a tough woman and a strong and powerful woman all the way to the end. And so, I mean, that's why I
Yeah.
married her. We were good. We were a
Right?
great match. We were together 33 years.
Oh, and nobody can say that nowadays. There's very few people that can
Yeah, no,
say that they've
I
had a
know that.
long marriage, you know what I mean? And just were able to stick through it
All
through
right,
thick and thin. I mean, and then for your boys to actually have a relationship with your
right,
mother, to actually have this understanding and this respect and this outlook, like she was still a woman, she was still
right,
powerful, she was still my mother, I still loved her. And then they
right,
go out
exactly.
to continue on their lives, they find their mates, they have their children, they're starting their own family, and they
Right,
have that
exactly.
understanding. That reference point is you guys. Their reference
Right,
points will always be their mom and their dad, and how they
exactly.
still loved each other, and how they still cared, and how
No,
they still
exactly.
kept going. And I think that's something beautiful about your story, and I'm
Thank
glad
you.
that you wrote this in a book so
Thank
that
you.
other people can laugh with you, cry with you, grieve
Right.
with you, mourn, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Enjoy
absolutely.
life with you, because this makes you immortalized. You know what I mean? Your relationship with your
No,
wife,
it's funny.
it's
I
forever.
wrote it a few years ago now, and on the other books, I get little tiny royalty checks from the publisher, which
Mhm.
remind me that I published it. But this book is still popular. I don't think it's ever going to be not popular because it's so useful. A man's perspective, a man's scientist inventor's perspective on caregiving, given in I lay it out: physical, emotional, financial, sexual, all the ways you have these challenges. And here's all what I figured out. Well, really,
Yeah.
me and her figured out. And by the way, I have a daughter and a son. So I have
Oh,
one
a
of
daughter
each.
and a son. Okay.
And my daughter's getting married in a couple months. So that's very
Oh,
exciting. That's one of the hard parts now is she doesn't get to see this, but that's all life anyway. She made it to
yeah.
55, which is in the olden days,
Yeah.
that's kind of old, right? So she made it pretty
Yeah.
far
And
since
even
she was
that,
diagnosed at 37, so it
oh,
was,
yeah, that's
she was
still
really young.
far.
Yeah,
Let's
I
be
think so.
honest, that's still far because some
Right.
people aren't people are dying every day in all
Yeah,
types of ranges by in all types of manners. So it's like when you
exactly.
have life, your birthday is to celebrate your life. And the fact that you were able to celebrate 55 years of her life, that's a blessing that nobody can take from
Right.
you. You know what I mean? Nobody can take
Thank you.
away that experience, those memories, that love. To even say that you have love, that saying is it's better to have love that at once than never have loved at
Right.
all. That's
No,
a true
exactly.
that holds so much value because you get to say I have loved sincerely, I have loved honestly, I loved in the raw. And that's what people need to learn because they don't do that, especially now in this day and age.
Yeah, it's
People
tough.
don't love sincerely, they love half-assly. You know what I
Right,
mean? They do
exactly.
it, they
Absolutely.
don't do it all the way,
Well,
and
it's
the
for
fact
show.
that
It's a shallow world these days.
oh my goodness, everyone's on the surface and it's
Right.
boring down up there. I don't want to be up there. I go down, I go
All
deep, and
right.
I go low. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I know exactly what you mean, but I also love the fact that it is by a man's perspective. In
Right.
this day and age, we really do still need men to step up and realize, like, you know what, this is from my perspective. I'm whole, I'm still a man.
Right.
I will show this for other men so that they can see because
Well,
there's
that's right.
there's not a lot of men that actually
Well,
speak their mind in this type of
well,
format.
the irony is I'm a macho surfer athlete, so it's not like and I was never really built
A
to
manly
do
man.
this. Yeah, to become a man's man for real. I'm still surfing big waves on the North Shore, so it's not like. But my flip side is my female feminine side is fully developed, and even now more so. I cook, clean, all that stuff, but I changed her tampons. I did everything. I'm like half woman now, so I'm kind of a freak. So, which is, that it's all good.
It's
And
hilarious.
the other thing that was really good about our situation was we were friends for 3 or 4 years in college. She dated my roommate, so we became close friends, really close, for 2 or 3 years. She'd give me dating advice before we ever went out.
Oh
So we had a
wow.
foundation as good
Yeah.
friends before we started to be romantically involved, and that really helped when the dark days came, and you know how to argue, you know how to fight, you know how to debate.
Hmm.
It's just you have another layer and another level you can go to, and
Yeah.
that's really important because a lot of people I think in relationships just bail out easily because it's surface stuff, and with Instagram and social media, you're always looking what grass is greener on the other side. People don't
Yeah.
stick it out. People don't earn it. They don't really
Yeah. Yeah,
Live it.
exactly. If it doesn't, if it's not social media notice that it's not real. Like, no, no.
Right.
Like for me, it's like, why do I need to post it to say that it's real? I'm with you all the time. I love you like no
Right.
other. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I'm barely on my phone, and you want me to actually go on my phone to let the world know? Who cares what the world is?
I
Are they
know.
going to
That's
determine my life? No. Oh my
exactly.
goodness, believe me, it's so infuriating when I hear
Absolutely.
these conversations and these arguments, like, well, I'm mad because of this. I'm like, that's petty. That's all petty. And like you said,
Right.
surface level. Like, let's get deep, let's get real. And
Exactly.
when you want a long relationship, you want years, you want literally the saying death do us part, you have to accept every measure. And
Right.
you have to have a level of that foundation of friendship and respect. Because if you don't have that friendship and respect, that conversation, that
Yep.
communication, then to be honest, you really don't have nothing else. You
Right.
know what I mean? Because
And you don't
everything else
rush.
can be developed in time, but
Right.
man, that right there, that's everything.
I think so. And I think you don't rush into things. You know, it's a long game. You want to play the long game. You don't rush in and get married quickly. I always tell people, especially kids, you got to live with someone a year. I know people religiously have a problem with that. That's fine. But in general, you can date all you want, but until you're living together and you see that person on their bad days or when they're brushing their teeth or when they're going to the bathroom or vice versa, all that,
Oh,
and those are the minor things, but still, it's an overall thing of it's a good test. You know, live together for a year, then talk about getting married because marriage is a
right?
big thing. I mean, it should be a big thing, and
Exactly.
it's really a tough road to be married, especially
Yeah.
now. I mean, again, everyone's phones, and I'm really anti social media. I do it,
Um,
but the way the
bare
phones
minimum.
are. No, yeah, I mean, I do it when I'm Wi-Fi connected. I
Yeah.
feel like cell phones should be for talking and texting. When you're
Yes.
outside in nature or with other humans, you shouldn't have access to Wi-Fi. You should
And
only have
yeah.
it when you're in the house or office because
Yes.
there's no the interconnection. People don't even look at each other, you know, especially young people. They can't even look in your eyes anymore and have a
Oh.
normal discussion. It's really
Mm-hmm. It
infuriating.
is. It really is. And it is frustrating because one year I realized that I was going through social media way too heavy. And I was like, you know what? I
Right.
need to let it go. So I did exactly what you said. I deleted every app. My phone was literally only for
Yeah.
calling and texting. And that's it. If you needed anything else or send me anything else, I'm sorry. It's not even there. I don't even know and I don't even care.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So then after I did that, I started
Um,
seeing the world differently. I started
yeah.
seeing myself differently. I started enjoying, I had more peace and more love. Like I
Mhm.
look at the sky. I started
Yeah.
discovering more about nature and space and everything that's out there. You know what I mean? It's truly more fascinating than whatever that all those social media apps can do. Like I do it, but I don't
Right.
do it. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
do it for this, for my business, but it's not. Yeah. See, that's where
That's
I'm
my
at to the
that's
point.
my phone. Okay. It doesn't get. I have no apps. I
That's
can
yeah,
text
right.
and phone. I can look up something, but no apps. So I have
Yeah,
to
I
have an
love it.
iPad. It's just
Yeah,
for me. I'm old anyway. It doesn't matter.
it's
But
okay.
kids today can't do that, and
Yeah,
it's really sad. And I fear for my new grandchild and others to
yeah.
come. And the whole world is like, you, everyone thinks they're so slick and smart from a smartphone. They're getting dumber and they're getting
Yes.
less talented and less creative. I mean, that as an
Yeah.
inventor, I'm all about creating things. And if you have no creativity left and no uh, communication skills, you're really way behind the eight ball right away.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Absolutely. Because you have no really sense of direction because you're just literally following the lead.
right,
And that, believe
exactly.
me, that's not going to get you anywhere. But man, Rob, I feel like we can keep talking about life, about this, about your story, about your journey in so many different directions. But
Thank you.
unfortunately, time is really catching up to us. And I'm kind of
Okay, no
sad,
problem.
So what can be some lasting words that you can leave us off with to keep on thinking?
I think that the key is, well, I'll give you the best advice I give for people that are parents and in relationships and anything is two words, three, ignore and distract. Okay, so
Ignore
you
and
ignore,
distract.
yep, you especially for child rearing, ignore bad behavior, distract bad behavior, but also kind of in your relationships. You shouldn't ignore something that's big, but little things, you got to let things go and you got to kind of pick your battles, right? But
Hmm.
little kids, just like big kids and adults, they're everyone's crying for attention, maybe for the wrong reason. So if a kid falls down and you see him fall down, don't ignore him, because if you ignore them, they'll get up and keep going. But if you look at them, they'll start crying and they'll look for, look for attention and look for, and I think, or you distract them when things are going off the rail, especially with kids. Oh, but look at that sky, look at that bird over there. And I know,
Yeah,
but it kind of works. And I don't know, for caregiving, it could work too. It's like when you're in a bad situation, you got to change the scenery,
you
you know,
do. You
and
do.
that's been helpful for me. And you just kind of you keep persevering. I mean, my whole thing is the have you heard of the tortoise and the hare? You know that fable
Yeah,
where
yeah,
the hare runs real fast. Tortoise
yeah.
keeps chugging along, but he wins the race because the rabbit
Yes.
falls asleep.
Yeah,
That's the key in all of life. It'd be the tortoise.
exactly. Just
Time,
keep going.
keep moving forward, and pace yourself. And life is a gray area. It's not all black and white. Just keep going, keep going.
Exactly. I really love that. I mean, those are great words, many words
Thank
for
you.
us to really think about because it holds so much value in so many different ways that we can implement in so many different aspects of our lives, not just for our children, not just for our spouses, not just for our caregiving, but just in overall realizing our values, our
Right,
morals, how are you moving? Are you being more authentic? Are you leading in more purpose? Are you doing it in any direction that is positive for your outcome, for your goal, for
right,
your life, for your legacy? You know what I mean?
exactly.
Because like I was saying earlier, this book is your legacy. You have your children and they will pass on your name, but at the same time, this book will always be your all your books, but this book most definitely will
Thank
be
you.
the legacy of you and your wife
I
and your
appreciate that.
relationship, and that is something beautiful to
Thank you.
cherish, you know what I mean, to cherish forever. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know more about Rob, because how could you not after listening to this conversation, am I right? Please go check him out. I have his website and access to all his books and access to all the great content that he shares with his adventures. Please go check him out, and you will always keep thinking, because isn't that the point? Yes, it is. So with that being said, bye.